Okay, so Jeff, what's up, man? How's it going, dude?
Doing good, you.
Good, man. So I'm here with Jeff, my partner in crime at CollectorVision Games. We want to just talk about just City Hunter and other projects possibly as well that we're working on. But Jeff, I want to kind of give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm the founder of CollectorVision. Actually, it was found in 2008, and since then it became a lot, a lot, become late. I mean, become bigger than I ever thought. Actually, it was really a small project for me. It was an excuse to make game actually. And as you already know, to be joined and you join after. And since then, we released Curse of the Mayan, of course, and just releasing a game for the Nintendo Switch for me is like a big deal. So, I mean, for all the team, it is. So.
Sure, absolutely. So how did you come up with CollectorVision though? Like, how did it come to be?
Actually, I just want to make some ColecoVision games, and I didn't want to use the ColecoVision name, so I used CollectorVision as a pun word for the collector
Sure.
of the ColecoVision stuff, and yeah.
So the ColecoVision was your first console, or one that you're just really fond of?
Oh yeah, it was. I was 4 years old when I got a ColecoVision, and I was hooked. I was completely good. I remember the first game I played was Mousetrap for the Coleco, yeah. And just moving something on the TV was blown away for me.
Blown away. Yeah,
Oh,
that was we got that in common. That was my very first console. I had games like Turbo, which was amazing with the steering wheel.
oh yeah.
Smurf Rescue, Gargoyle's Castle.
Oh yeah.
Mousetrap. All those were really great games for sure. So
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
So
I remember
yeah.
one Christmas my older brother got Turbo for the ColecoVision, so we got the steering wheel and I was blown away just having a steering wheel on the TV. For me, it was new. It was video game was new. There was nothing like this before, so.
Yeah. So that started your passion for video games, and so CollectorVision Games been around since what, 2008? When did it
Yeah,
start? 2008, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I joined when, like around 2014, 15, I think.
I think it was in 13
13,
or
15?
14. Yeah.
Yeah, man, time has gone by fast. So I
Yeah,
know the
because
game. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, sorry. I think it was in 13 because in 14 we start working on Mayan's Revenge, if you remember correctly.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So that's kind of how Curse of the Mayan came to be, was through Mayan's Revenge, which was supposed to be kind of Montezuma's Revenge clone, right? That was kind of our goal, is to make an NES game.
That's right, because one of my best friend, he had Montezuma's Revenge on his ColecoVision. I did not, so I was always begging for playing Montezuma's Revenge at his house. So we hang out together, and I remember we had this passion in common, playing video games. So I always remember I always want to play Montezuma's Revenge, and I played a lot of it. So I always been fascinated by this style of game of exploring and having some sort of puzzle, if you will, at that
Sure.
time. So
Sure.
that was really mind blowing at that time.
Yeah. And we brought Sivak on to program it for the NES, and he had done games
That's right.
like Battle Kid 1 and 2 for the NES, which, guys, if you guys
yeah.
haven't played these games, really fun, like Mega Man style games. Really, I would highly recommend. And we're super stoked to bring him on board to program this game for the NES. But it eventually evolved and kind of grew into Curse of the Mayan. And
Right.
I think 5 years later we release it.
Yeah.
I know. So these things take time for sure, right? I mean, that's one thing we've learned.
Yeah, but at the same time, we are not like professional developer.
Right.
We did any course of any sort, so it was just a passion project, I guess, for all of us. So,
Sure.
and it took 5 years because we were so perfectionist.
Right.
I think, um, it's not a perfect game of any will, but I really like it. I think we did good with what we have, and
Sure.
It's
I
the
agree.
first game, so I'm pretty proud of it. Actually, it's not a perfect game for by any mean, but I mean,
Yeah.
we should be proud of it. That's what I mean.
I
Yeah.
think it's hard to make a perfect, like 100% game that you. But I agree with you. I think the product that we released, the game, I'm very proud of. I
Mhm.
think the reviews speak to that. If you go onto our Steam page for the game, people are very highly. It's got really high ranks. Metacritic is pretty solid too, and just people who've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so obviously we're a little biased because it's our baby, it's our passion project, but it's
Yeah.
it was a fun journey, man. And then eventually, we brought Russ on to do the programming. Kind of it, I guess he evolved too much to be on the NES. Right, at some point it was like this project's becoming too much. So Russ, we had worked with. Now, how'd you meet Russ? And we'll have him on a future episode. We'll talk to him too, but. He was working on some other like ColecoVision games for us, right, at the time.
That's right. He worked on Sidetrack, the vaporware ColecoVision games, and he worked also on the Ripcord. So we already knew him pretty much well, and we knew Russ will do the job for Curse of the Mayan actually. So and he did. So I mean I'm biased on this, but I'm pretty proud of what we did again. So
yeah.
I mean.
We have a solid team. I mean, and then with Ben, the audio, he did the audio, the music, the sound effects.
Oh yeah.
Now he came about because I guess he was a fan of my channel. Is that right? I wasn't quite sure how.
Yeah, I think so.
Ben. Yeah.
I think he contacted you back in like 2015 or so. Yeah.
Yeah, and the music is one of the things I think people praise the most about the game. To be honest with you, I think it really fits the game. And City Hunter itself, the character itself, this is not the first game we've produced. I think it's caused some a lot of confusion with people, to be honest with you, because we have so many City Hunter games, right? We have one for obviously the one we're talking about for modern platforms, Curse of Mayan, but we have Caverns of Death for the Super Nintendo. We have a Sacred Tribe. We have Shrines of Peril, and so
that's right.
It's the same character, just different platforms and
different adventure.
I can't think of another company today that does so many games on multiple platforms like we do. To be honest with you, can you think of one?
It's hard to say, but I think Pico Interactive do pretty much well on this. Yes.
Yeah, they do.
There's another one for sure, but I just don't want to compare the company to others because pretty much all other company are doing their stuff pretty much well. I mean, I've seen other company doing stuff that I like too, and it's pretty important for me that homebrew. I don't like to use the term homebrew.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's use it for this conversation. I mean, the homebrew scene is alive and people support it in all console department.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I just saw today a work in progress of a new Intellivision game that's coming up, and there's two new actually Wizard of War and another one I can remember.
That's great.
And yeah, the game are great. I mean, you can do so much well on the platform nowadays. So it's pretty cool to see people support the older console like that. So
I agree, and I'm kind of with you too. I use homebrew only because I think 95% of people kind of relate to that term. But I'm kind of with you because I feel like the term homebrew kind of devalues what the value of the game, to be honest with you, because it's like homebrew is like, oh, we made it from our house, and it's like kind of a cheapo project. Where these games, not just the games we work on, but like to your point, other games as well. Like Haunted Halloween, and what Tim's working on with his team. I mean, these are high quality games for new for the retro consoles. So it's almost like it's a retro dev, almost like an indie retro dev.
That's what I was going to say. The homebrew scene is the underdog of the indie scene.
Right.
They're doing the same thing but for the older console, and there's not much sale to go with an old console like ColecoVision. Let's say ColecoVision, you can sell like, I don't know, 200 copies top, and it's a good game at this point.
It's yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. I think it's, let me see, for some reason
there's a lot of passion going into the homebrew scene actually. I think I would not say there's more passion into the homebrew scene than the indie, but there's definitely equally passionate project.
Well, I think you have to be, especially with doing systems like the ColecoVision, because it's a very niche system, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're talking 100 copies, so we're not talking about like mass printing these copies of games. So you almost have to
yeah,
be passionate about doing these, and certainly the people who are playing these games are passionate as well. It's a great scene
yeah.
for sure.
And the people who are making it, I mean, people see CollectorVision as one of the game maker of CollectorVision games, or let's say in television or anyway. But the programmer behind those games are the one that are passionate about the console actually,
Right.
because they will not waste their time doing programming on those console.
Yeah. Yeah.
That goes for any console. I mean, NES, Jaguar, or any
Sure.
console. So
Well, and programming for an NES is very different than a ColecoVision, or very different than a Super Nintendo, as you know. And so you have to change the sprites. It's a different language as far as the programming goes.
oh yeah,
So it's a pretty complicated process, and that's why
oh
it
yeah.
takes years to
Even
make these games.
even graphically, it's different.
Right.
I was just going to say that I had a project with JM
Mhm.
for an NES game, and he told me let's just use a mapper zero, which is any ROM and ROM. So you don't have any mapper to work with. It's a basic NES black box game.
Mm.
So it was quite challenging to make this. So I told him, okay, just make a game that could use this and have those limitations. So we
Sure.
came up with Gesture, and this was our let's say our confined project for.
Mhm.
We did this in like a week or two.
Yeah, I think it's cool. And JM, for those who may not know, JM is one of our programs that's on our team. He did the Super Nintendo port of City Hunter. He's done a handful of ColecoVision games for us. He's,
Right.
I mean, he's very, very talented. And that's one thing I really love about ColecoVision, JF, is that their whole team, we're from all over the world, right? So you're obviously up
That's right.
in Montreal with Toby. We got Russ, myself, and Ben are in the States. But we got, Tony in Australia, Oscar in Mexico, MK in Spain, JM in France. I mean, who am I missing? I mean, we've got all over the world.
Yeah, we have Daniel working in
Oh yeah,
Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah,
We have another Oscar in Mexico actually.
Oscar in
Who's
Mexico.
doing
Yeah,
graphic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fun to work with people all over the world. So it's pretty fun actually.
Yeah,
And
it's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's fun to work with people all over the world because their passion and talent are different, and they have different styles. So that's
Mhm.
pretty cool to work
Mhm.
with them.
So we've produced how many games now? From over 100, right? Over 100 unique games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. We have released over 100 games over the years, from Atari to modern console from nowadays. So
Yeah, and we're one of the only countries, as far as one of the only companies, as far as I know, that owns a ColecoVision cartridge mold, right? As far as in North America, there might be.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I know a guy who have one in Europe.
Okay.
So he's producing his kind of game on his
Cool.
own too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So what other games that we've produced over the years? What kind of stands out to you, Jeff? As far as where's some of your favorites?
Oh, it's hard to say, but definitely I would say Curse of the Mayan for sure because I always want to release a game. I mean, officially, if you will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just doing it on a Nintendo platform. When I got my dev kit, I was blown away. I was already blown away by having a dev kit from Nintendo.
Sure.
It was like,
Yeah.
oh shit,
Yeah.
things are getting real.
Get
now.
real, right?
So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely
And-
our flagship game. I think, as far as when I think of the games we've produced over the years, that's the one I think that kind of stands out the most. Only because it's our first dipping our toes in the water as far as modern platforms go. It's built using Unity, so we can. I know Russ is currently working on Xbox One, as well as we just recently got approved for PS4.
right.
So that should be coming out. So all very exciting, and potentially when PS5 hits, in this next generation of consoles, we could theoretically port it to those consoles as well.
Yeah.
I know our dream is to do a physical release. So that's going to be exciting when that happens as well.
Yes. Yes, we can talk. We cannot talk about it yet, but
Yeah.
a physical release is coming. That's for sure, and I'm so
Yeah.
yeah.
So exciting. Very,
Yeah.
very exciting.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
awesome. So this game, Curse of Mayan, City Hunter, the Curse of Mayan, is kind of evolved from Montezuma's Revenge. It moved to the modern platform, and it kind of. I think when we started working on this project, we kind of worked on it backwards because we did the programming while we were programming the levels, right? I mean, it was kind of a work in progress. We kept adding things and changing things. I think at one point I was like, let's whatever things we want to change, let's leave it for the sequel. It got to the point
Yeah.
we got to get this game out. But I think at the end of the day, I like you said, I'm very proud of the game, how it turned out. What do you like about this game, and what are the things that were kind of struggles for this game, I guess, for you?
I wasn't sure at first, actually. When we had the final build, let's say, I wasn't sure. I was the first that wasn't sure about if the game was good or not.
Yeah.
And I've decided to let my son play the game, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my best choice, actually, to do, because as soon as he first started playing it, I knew it was a good game. Not because he's not biased. Because
he's 10. How old's your son?
My son is 9.
9.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And he first started playing it, and he told me, "Oh, it seems difficult game," and I was like, "Just take your time. Just don't rush anything, and just be relaxed about it." And as soon as I said that, he started being just more relaxing about it, not be stressed out, and he beat the boss like no time. So I was like blown away because I've tried it myself, and I knew that Russ did some change on the boss and stuff, and I was like, I struggle.
Right.
I have struggled about it. So
right. It's hard. The game's hard.
The game is retro hard, actually.
Retro hard. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And if you start rushing and doing like the game in like a speed run, you better have some practice to go with it.
You got skills and a lot of time to practice. Yeah, my fastest time I've ever played the game, I think, was like a little over 3 hours. But I'm not a speed runner, so.
No, but that's good. That's really good. But
that's pretty good time. I know most people.
My best time is like 7 hours or stuff like that.
I was looking on Steam, and you can kind of see people who leave comments on how long they've put into the game, and it's very common to see 11 and a half hours, 15 hours. I saw one for like 20 hours into this game.
Yeah.
And that's if for those who want to get all the items and unlock all the stages and unlock all the the achievements, of course. And there's there are 2 different endings, which only a little over 2% of the people who play the game have access to the second ending.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is, yeah. I think only like 13% have actually completed the game, which, considering the game's a long game, that's not too bad, I guess. I mean, people are putting a lot of time into the game, so that's good. So
yeah, it is.
It's our love letter to the retro games. I mean, I know some of the games that you were a big part of designing the levels, designing the enemies.
That's the funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, that's the funny thing about it, because I did a lot of level design about the game, and I have struggled to beat those levels, so that doesn't make any sense. But because I was trying to make the level like I would say just like Battle Kid, like it's not impossible, but it's quite possible to do it if you take your time. But I always like to do like rush the level in any game.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's one of those games. I think when you're on the screen, you have to really take the time to make sure you break all the blocks, get all the items, because you can technically. I beat the game without having to go back. Right? There is some kind of Metroidvania parts of it where if you rush through it, you have to go back and get the skulls. And some people like that, some people don't like that. But I'm telling you, if you can be patient with a game, you can get all the skulls without even having to go back to any of the levels.
But I found it funny because people compared it to Metroidvania stuff, and I was like, when I was playing Montezuma's Revenge, it was just like that. you forget some keys and you have to track down some keys and you have to track down some stuff, and it always been like that. Games are always been like that for me. I mean, I grew up with CollectorVision, and the next console I got was NES. So game are always been hard for me.
Right.
I mean, I grew up with those stuff. So
It's retro hard, right? But I feel like the controls are very. So I think Russ did a really good job making the controls very solid. So if you do die, it's kind of your fault. It's not the fault of like, and it's not like a jump back, like when you get hit, like in Castlevania, you jump back, and I always hated that in those retro games, but I understand why they did it.
oh yeah.
But our game doesn't do any of that.
You mean the knockback in like
the knockback, right?
Castlevania or
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah. And the reason they do that is because programming wise, if you get stuck, they don't want you to get stuck on an enemy and keep getting hit by hit, right? So in order, otherwise, if you don't, then you just keep hitting hit. So what we did, you just make it invisible for a little while after you get hit, and that's kind of a quick fix to that. But I mean, there's a reason they did that. But always, you jump mid jump and you get hit, and then you fall, right? So
That's right.
it was one of those things. But there's a lot of like obviously Easter eggs in the game, going back from like what Mario 2, Zelda 2. What are some of the ones that you noticed in the game?
Yeah, on top of my head, I think that's the one I recall. I think we made Zelda 2, Super Mario 2, but we were really influenced by Castlevania, Mega Man. I mean, those type
Mega
of
Man
games.
for sure with the boss battles, God's
I
battles.
mean, Battle Kid was a huge influence on me because that's the first homebrew game I played that I was blown away by it. I mean, it was like a full-fledged game for me, like a professional full-fledged game.
Yeah.
So I was aiming for that with Curse of the Mayan, of course. And the level design were inspired, and I remember an underwater level where you have spike and you have to jump your way down to collect. Yeah, that was really inspired by Battle Kid. And I told Russ, I want this perfect jump. I want a perfect jump, and he did, of course. So it was mind blowing.
And even the dialogue, the way they talk, I think it was kept over from Battle Kid, right? Because like when they talk back and forth in Battle Kid, the characters light up and become gray, black and white, whatever, and grayscale. We kept that in the game.
That's right, because when we were going to make the NES game Mayan's Revenge, Sivak was working on it, and he told us that it was much simpler to use that same, cutscene, if you will, the character stuff. So, yeah.
I think for me personally, my favorite part of the game is just the gameplay. I think how it all came together, how we all worked together. I think one thing I really appreciate, we all had really good ideas, and I think we're very open to those ideas, which I think really worked well in creating this game. I think the one thing I would improve, not necessarily the game itself, but I think it would be just getting the word out on this game it's been a struggle, right? I mean, it's, I feel it's kind of still under the radar. We don't have these big marketing dollars to team up with a publisher to help, with the marketing. So it's just all word of mouth, really, at this point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's really hard to, if you don't have a major publisher like Revolver or stuff like that, to get your game known about. So that's the worst part about doing those games, I would say. But at the same time, when you ask people who play the game, what do you think of it, and they all told, or mostly all told us that they like the game. So it's a great game that is unknown at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe with time, with the PS4 release, the Xbox release, it will help.
Sure.
But at this time, as we speak right now, if people think we are getting rich out of making those games, we're not. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. For sure.
You have to do it for patience. So.
You have to be patient. I still believe in it, and when that physical release does come out, I think that's going to help with sales for sure. Another round. We brought on a PR company to help us out for the first 6 months. Kind of that was an interesting process as well. We learned things through that. So, but with the launch of PS4 and the Xbox One, I think we have a lot more experience. And like you said before, this is our first game on modern platforms. Obviously,
Yeah,
marketing a game like this compared to a new ColecoVision game that we already have an established market for, it's not apples and apples. It's like apples and bananas, or it's like apples and
that's right.
onions. I mean, they're two completely different
Yeah,
things,
yeah, yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They are, and I mean, again, you have to do those games for passion first and
yeah,
foremost. And if you collect good funds, good for you. But you have to first do it for the passion. And good thing is we going to have a physical format for the game, and the company we sign with for. I mean, their stuff are pretty much top notch as
it
as
is.
we
You
have
kind of gave
seen.
out a little stinker there, but that's right. When they know that we will be coming
Mhm.
out of physical, but more detail of that will be coming
Yeah,
out
I
soon.
just want to spoil a bit of
A little
people
bit,
who are
yeah.
interested in it. But
Because
yeah,
if I had $1, Jeff, for every time someone reached out to me and said, "If is it coming out for physical?" I'm going to hold
Mhm.
off. And that's the thing; it's kind of a catch-22 because in order to do physical, you kind of need the money to do, to
Oh
sell.
yeah,
So it's like my recommendation for people who want to support indie games is to buy the digital, and then that's going to help fund a physical. And then if you want, you can get the physical later down the road. But don't
that's right.
hold your breath for a physical because that costs a lot of money. And even teaming up with a third-party company, they take a big chunk of it. So even again, it's like you know. But I don't know. So, what are some advice for those who want to program or get into gaming? What's some advice you could share as far as going through this process?
Depending if you did some studying on gaming, and if you worked previously on professional game company, it may varies on this. But if you start with nothing, I mean, like us, if you don't came from let's say a gaming professional background, I mean, just be passionate about it. Just
Mm-hmm.
make something you like. Just make something you think it's fun to do. It doesn't have to be unique or special. Just
Mm-hmm.
make something you like. I mean,
Yeah,
that's my best advice for those.
yeah, yeah. No, it's good advice. I think you got to be passionate. You got to be patient, passionate and patient,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's a very small few indie games will get like go viral. Like the Goose game came out like a week after our game or 2 weeks after that game, and that game's gone viral. They sold millions of copies, and
Oh
it's like
yes.
so it's kind of luck of the draw, right? And you can't
Hmm.
compare our game to the Goose game because again they're completely different games.
Yeah,
And
they are.
I'm very happy for the team to that of their success.
Sure.
So kudos to them. But on the
Of
same
course.
night
Yeah.
note, 80%, 85, 90% of the games that are new games are you're not getting rich on these games, right? I mean, at this point. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't see many people getting rich of making games nowadays, because
Mhm.
there are a lot of game you can buy and for cheap, and some game are super expensive and they are great too. I mean,
Right.
they have just released the remake of Final Fantasy 7,
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
the game it seems to going great. So I mean, to each his own, I guess. There's a game
Hmm.
for each of us, and it's great. I mean, it's a good time for a gamer to be a gamer, actually.
It is there, yeah. Especially with the indie scene and how you can download them and fit your fingertips. And then there's a lot of these party companies that are doing physical copies, which are awesome.
Hmm.
There's a lot of opportunities to support indie games. So my advice, if you guys find a game you guys like, and it doesn't have to be one of our games, of course, but if you find a game you like, play it, check it out, stream it, do a video on it, tweet about it, share it on your
Yep.
Facebook, help spread the word about this. That's going to be the biggest help.
Yep. And you was saying that earlier, that you should support digital game, and and I'm guilty, because I always try to wait till they got a physical release. For instance, I was waiting for Messenger to get a
Oh, the
physical
messenger,
release,
yeah, yeah,
and it's a good thing for a collector to wait for a physical release, but
yeah.
as a game developer, you can understand both sides now. You can understand the side of waiting for a physical release, but you can also realized that you need to sell physical digital release to get your game physically available.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's tough market for this actually if you're
Yeah.
indie. Oh yeah, definitely.
What's your thoughts on the mess? Have you played the Messenger? Because I know you guys. You know the crew. They live in Montreal, no? Like Quebec area.
They are from Quebec. Yeah,
Okay.
we are from Montreal. They are from Quebec, another city.
Sure.
There's Quebec is also the province. But anyway, no, I didn't have time to play my physical copy of this because I don't have much time to play nowadays. I'm always, as you know, creating graphics and stuff. So
Sure.
two days ago, I just opened my copy of Resident Evil 2 remake to play it. I got it like a year ago, and I was like, okay, it's time to take some time to relax.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Awesome! This game is going to blow my.
That's sweet. I'm guilty of that too. Where I buy a game and I don't have time to play it. I bought the new Killer Queen. That came out, and I haven't played it yet.
We played it actually. The first Game on Expo had this
arcade. The arcade, yeah. But they released on Switch recently, and it's a little bit different. It's like slightly different. I played the arcade game, and that's great. It's like Joust on steroids.
That's right.
This is I've not played it. My son was playing it the other day, and I forgot I had it on my Switch, so I gotta go back and check it out. But there's definitely a lot of games out there I need to check out. Let's transition real quick, Jeff, and talk about the Phoenix real quick, the system,
sure,
and that kind of process and how that came about. I know Brian, who's part of our team, had been working on that for years, and I remember several years ago at the Game on Expo, he brought like a prototype out. How did the project come about, and why don't you kind of explain what the Phoenix is all about?
As you know, there were previously the chameleon stuff, and we will pass that because everybody knew at this point the story. So, and Brian contacted me like 3 years ago, and he told me that he had a working hardware prototype for the CollectorVision, and it was based on FPGA. And it was like, yeah. I didn't want to be involved in any hardware CollectorVision related stuff. So I was like, show me a prototype, it works, and we'll start from there.
Right.
So it took I think it took like 6 months for him to show me a prototype, and it was just like before the Game on Expo actually.
Which year? Remember?
2 years ago. So
2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, just bring it with you at the Game on Expo, and I will see from there. So he was like, okay, I'll go at the Game on Expo and I'll show you. So I'm good. So at the Game Expo in August, I met this guy for the first time, Brian, and he was like, here it is. It's the board for the Phoenix. So it was not a Phoenix per se at that time. It was just a replacement board for the old CollectorVision shell.
Sure.
I was like, okay, it seems to not be a video graphic card, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
Something to understand as well is, okay, you live in Montreal area.
That's right.
Brian lives in the Carolinas.
That's right.
We all kind of meet. I live in Arizona. We all meet in Phoenix, and so you kind of have to figure that this guy's pretty serious if he's going to fly out cross country to Phoenix to show you this prototype on his own. Yeah,
we were not going to pay for his flight or any expense, and I was like, okay, he seems serious about it.
Right, sure.
So I remember at that time we had a Sacred Tribe release on the CollectorVision, and he had that cartridge. So it's a mega cartridge, which is 128K. So the normal CollectorVision can go up to 32K. So if that game works, it's good sign for me.
Sure.
So we plug in the cartridge, he started the console, and it was just like, okay, that's the real thing. Nothing is hiding before, under, or anything behind. It's not a Super NES in a console or anything. It's a real deal.
That's a real deal.
So I was convinced about this stuff. So I told Toby, just take a look at it. And Toby is the president of CollectorVision, and is a good friend of mine actually. So, and of us actually. So,
Sure.
so he told me, "Are you sure about this console? You just don't want to be associated with the chameleon stuff and other stuff like that." So I was like, "No, it's an FPGA. It's legit. It works, and let's just work on this project. I mean, if it's on 6 months, we'll see from there." So Toby was like, "Okay, let's just put some money on the programming of the FPGA to have the core of ColecoVision working at me. You you have to. It's cool to work on a new console, but if your console doesn't work 100 properly, people
Right.
will not like it." So
Sure.
that was the main focus at this point. So, I mean, I think we did a great job on it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the design turned out well. I know MK helped a little bit with the programming side of things too. I remember going to Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I think maybe a couple of years ago with Brian. At this point, he had a 3D printed case,
That's right.
and like we intentionally opened it up at the show so people could play it and say, okay, well, it is a legit board. There's no like smoke and mirrors. We're not trying to like fool anyone thinking it's not what it's not, right? So
That's right.
and that was the thing to kind of overcome was the chameleon debacle, and that opened old wounds there. But we kind of struggled with that, right, initially, because people kind of were still sour about that. But we did the first batch. We printed. I think we did the early birds. You know, those who pre-ordered it got it first, right? I know, but right now we're on our second batch.
That's right.
And it can play not only ColecoVision games, but it can do Atari 2600 games through the SD
That's
card.
right.
And then it also, what's the chip it has that can like enhance the graphics and stuff too, the colors.
The F1
F1. Yeah, I mean, graphically, it can look almost more like an NES game, right? I mean, it's got some pretty cool.
It's the F1 is better than the NES without mapper, actually.
Wow. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I'll put a link below for you guys to check it out. We're still trying to fill in the second batch because, you know, it costs a lot of money to do these moldings, as you know, people may or may not be aware. The boards, it all costs money. We're not making a ton of money on this project. It's a passion project for us.
We're not making any money on any Phoenix.
Right.
And if people think we're making money, good for them. But I can show them the bill, and no, it doesn't add up. We don't make any money. That's the funny thing about it. Because even Toby was telling me at one point, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So
poor guy was
just
literally putting them together by hand, Toby. Like
and you have to know that it's a lot of money involved in this. And when you're manufacturing, let's say like 500 console, it's a lot of money for a small company like us. So we're not making any money out of it. But the one thing that we're doing is selling more games, because people on the Phoenix will just buy our game because they like what we do. So
yeah, it's goodwill. Yeah. That's cool. And this second batch, it'll be done, right? We're not going to make any more after this, correct?
I don't think so.
We never say never, I guess, but
yeah, we never know. But we don't plan at this point to make more console than we did. I think we sold like. I don't want to talk about me. But I think it's like 500 console at this point we have sold for the first batch, and I think we're doing that much for the second batch.
Yeah, so we're looking at like under 1,000-ish, and that's just a very small run. So cool stuff, man. So, well, before I let you go, Jeff, is there anything else you want to share about upcoming projects that aren't necessarily top secret that you want to kind of talk about?
I think we can talk about the remake of Dead Tomb.
Okay, yeah, man. I know this is a passion project for you. Tell us the background of Dead Tomb, because this is coming out for the NES and you're doing a remake. So we can talk about that too. Mm-hmm. And send me some pictures. I know you sent me some pictures before, but I'll post them in the video here so people can kind of, if you don't mind me sharing them.
Sure.
I'll share. Tell me about I know the backstory about the game, of course, but for those who don't know about the backstory of Dead Tomb, how it kind of came to be and why it's so sentimental to you.
Actually, Dead Tomb is an old video game that was available on cable service in Canada, and I mean other part in the world, like in UK, I know for sure. And there was some game available on this cable service, which was one of them was Temporal Inc. And this game was in a pyramid, and you have to try to escape. And anyway, this game was super great, and it's remembered from all the fans in Canada and stuff like that. So I want to make NES remake on this game. So I called it Dead Tomb, which is actually a clone of Temporal Inc.
Sure.
So the game start.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead. When you say Canada, was this just in the French province of Canada, like Quebec, or was it all over Canada? Like, could people play in Toronto and Vancouver and BC and all that?
Yeah, I first thought we were the first and the only to have this game because it was in French and it was pretty niche. And I heard from word to word that from mouth to mouth that this game was available in English too. So
okay. Wow. Cool.
I never came across an English version of that game of any sort, but that's what I heard over the time.
And this sounds like it's like a Sega Channel almost device, or where you can is that kind of correct as far as you can kind of download these games and play them through this cable box?
Correct. You have your cable box at home, and you could download a game on this device. And the game was like super simple, and you have like Burger Time, which was a clone of Burger Time. It was not really Burger Time, and there was Pepper 2, which was the name was Zipper, which was like a zipper.
Sure.
So you have those kind of games. You had also original game that was developed here in Quebec, which was one of them was Temporal Inc. And you had another one was Le Fou du Roi, which is Jester, the game that started actually. So
cool.
So Dead Doom start as a NES project, a very small NES project. It's a Mapper One project for the NES. It started really small. I mean, I just want to remake that game, and it evolved over the years, of course.
Yeah.
And this game is about to getting released. So another game, a physical format that we can talk about it yet. We don't want to spoil
it, but there's some pretty big news on the horizon regarding this game. So please stay tuned. We'll be announcing that shortly as well. But yeah, I'm super excited. I know I've been playing it for years, and just to see the improvements you've done, and you're sharing these pictures. And I'll say this: graphically, the game looks great. The colors really are solid colors. The cutscenes are great. I love the mini game. There's a mini game within. I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's a mini game within this game that's a lot of fun as well. I think it's kind of funny how you can access it as well, which is cool. But obviously, that's the NES, and you're also working on kind of a redo, or how a remastered version, so to speak. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the programmer of the NES version told me that, hey, we could do a Dreamcast port of it. It was like, oh, that's cool. I always want to make a Dreamcast game. I mean, the Dreamcast is probably one of my favorite game console of all time. So, sorry. and he told me, like, you want to make a port of it for the Dreamcast, and I was like, cool, but I didn't want to use the 8-bit graphics of that game. I was like, it's a fun game for the 8-bit system for NES, but I mean, using the same graphic for the Dreamcast doesn't make sense for me.
Right,
so,
you'll be like, what is this? Yeah.
So that's another project that I start on my own. Then I didn't told Toby at first, and I was like, I will just work on that game on my own, and we'll see from there. So a couple months later, little then then I hired another guy to work with me for that game. So. And it's Daniel from Brazil. So at this point, I told Toby, we need to put some money in this game, because I want to develop it to make it a full-fledged game. And I just want to make Dead Tomb look like what it was planned for me. I mean, what I had in mind first. So
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and I've played the original game on the NES. This one looks like it's just like it on steroids, though. It looks awesome. More rooms, more. I mean,
thanks.
it looks incredible, man, and you should be very proud of it. Is this something that we hope to release on modern platforms as well down the road, potentially? Or I know the programming is different on the doesn't really translate very well from this Dreamcast to but
The good thing about it is we are developing it in Unity.
oh, you are okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So it could be possible to do a Switch version of or PS4, Xbox,
Sure.
or even PC. I think PC is for sure. I think we are going to release a PC version for it. That's for sure.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see from there. I mean, if people like the Dreamcast version and they want to see the game on a modern platform, I'll be up to work on it to make it available on modern platform for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the Tiger R Zone? Is that coming soon? No, the Tiger Head, old school. I was joking.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. The Virtual Boy port not going to happen anytime soon.
There are some console that I will not work on it, honestly. There are some console that will not work, but we'll never know. We have so many passionate programmer that maybe they will want to tackle those projects, so we'll never know.
Neo Geo would be cool, like a big cartridge would be cool someday to see something like that on Neo Geo. But yeah, man, there's obviously
You remind me that we should talk about Justice Beaver.
Okay, yes.
I bet some people will just want to hear about this game.
Yeah, no, agreed.
And I hear them. I mean,
this is a game, for those who don't know, it's a Super Nintendo project. I think we're working on like 4 years now. We did Kickstarter, we did Indiegogo. It was initially supposed to be, what was it clone? It was a Rick Dangerous clone.
That's right. That's right.
And we decided kind of midway that we didn't want to do a clone anymore. We want to create a original game, which anyway, it is what it is. We've had some issues with some programming and all that, and some delays, and that's probably one of the hardest things I think work on these games is you're kind of at the mercy of these programmers and their time frame, and you don't want to push them too hard because then they quit, or if you don't want to just like not So anyway, the good news is I finally feel like we're over the hump, and I don't know if you've played. I sent you a ROM. I don't know if you've played the latest ROM, JF, but the game's looking solid. The game's looking solid. You should play it, man. You should play it because I think you'll be proud of it. I really do. It's JM or MK is doing an incredible job on it. So it is a project that I'm looking forward to being done with very soon, for sure.
Damn right. Yeah. That's the first project we want to finish, and I see other people. I mean, can talk about us and saying, why are you releasing games for other system and stuff like that? Even same system. If we're going to release a Super NES game like Caverns of Death got released before,
sure,
and it's not the same programmer. People have to know that, but it doesn't excuse the waiting time that we had, the delay. So
right.
I mean, we are guilty for this, that's for sure. It wasn't supposed to take 5 years to get this project done. But at the same time, I mean, the game looks great. I mean, I didn't play the last build, that's for sure. But I mean, I have all the graphics, and I have a PC build of the final game, if you will. And I know the game is great, and I know the people who bought this game will like it. And it doesn't excuse the 5 years, that's for sure. But I mean, you live and learn, that's for sure.
Sure.
And I just don't want to make any grounding stuff anymore because of that game.
Yeah. It puts more stress levels to it for sure. Absolutely. All right, brother. I love you, man, and
you too, man.
So happy to be part of CollectorVision Games, and just through these years, it's gone so fast, and I know we have a lot of exciting things on the horizon. So, I'm really excited for the future, man.
All right. Oh yeah, and we'll see you soon, I guess.
Yeah, man. Stay safe. I know things are kind of crazy right now with COVID-19. Just stay safe and if it doesn't work out this year for coming out of Game On Expo, I totally understand. 2021 will be off the hook, but if it works out, great. If not, I completely understand.
It's still early. I mean, we're still in April, but I mean, until we know for sure, is 100 for sure.
I agree, man. The most important thing is just be safe. I completely agree on that. So, all right, brother. Well, have a good night, man. We'll talk to you soon. We'll do this again. This is fun. This is great. We'll kind of do this.
Sure, man.
All right,
Anytime.
all right, cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.